So I follow a couple of different websites and YouTube channels. Not many, but a few. One is this badass tourist center out of Montreal. They don't get many views at all, but they give a really sound sort of Jewish perspective. Um, there's this other website, Unsealed, which is like, you know, Rapture, Christian, like, he's coming. The September 23rd, 2017 sign was a once in a 10,000 year celestial formation. It happened, one time, and we got to see it, and we were witnesses, and like, he's gonna come, and all this stuff. And they're like, the author, or sorry, I think like the head of the website, his name is Gary, and uh, he wrote an article just now where he's like, this is like, he's been waiting and sort of being discouraged. And he's like, he's gonna come. Like, where's the Messiah? Like, all these things are happening. Like, what the fuck? And they get into this like really esoteric sort of like numerology, and I mean, he doesn't, and most people don't. But like one of the people who follows him, he's like this evangelical pastor. He's always like, well, this was 52 days ago, and in 17 times 14, there was this connection to the book of like Zechariah and all this stuff, and it's like never smooth, but he like tries to make it work. And the guy Gary is always like, yeah, that's interesting, or whatever. It's always funny to watch them. But Gary posted just now, he's like, with a very somber heart, I write this, like I prayed to the Lord to, blah blah blah, and it's like this sort of almost like not defeated, but just you can tell he's weary. And I emailed this guy like last year, and I was like, hey, like September 23rd, I made this movie, blah blah blah. Like, I'm a Leo, like I died as a baby, like I had a spiritual experience, like blah blah blah. And no response. Gary, if you ever see this, by the way, I emailed you like almost a year ago, so God had you covered back then. I'm not God, by the way. Like, God is God. I'm just saying. Like, I was like, oh yeah, like this guy knows what's up. Like, you guys dig into all these like really, you know, you guys get really obsessive over these details. Here's a shitload of details, and like, let's talk about it. No response. And the reason that there was no response is because of the third commandment, which says no graven image. So, reading that he comes with the clouds, in your mind, to come with the clouds means to show up in the sky, but all God has to do is solve for someone coming with the clouds, which if cloud means the cloud in the sky, then he can do it that way, or he can direct all of humanity to have an explosion of this little thing called the internet that has a moniker of the cloud, and then have an email come to you via the cloud, which you never looked at because you were expecting something else because of what you've seen on television. No offense. I think what your post is going to be today is about how, it's about adjusting. Hopefully it's about adjusting, because Gary, you're not God. I'm not God. God is God. So if he comes up with a solution that answers the cloud problem with a little thing called the internet, that's him checking a box on the list of the many things he has to do, not only for you and Christians, but also any member of the Abrahamic faiths and any member of any faith, or sorry, like the Hindu faith, that covers Abrahamic faiths, and the Hindu faith combined cover 70% of human beings. So then God has to go to the non-religious, the atheists, the agnostics who want data. So then he has to provide for that, and he has to check off boxes for them too, because you don't get to sit there and say, well, Christians were right, 2.5 billion people on this earth are right, and everyone else gets to die. You're part of a group of all human beings who are equally worthy that there's one God who comes up with a solution for everyone that you can get hip to, which I hope you're writing about with this article that I haven't really read. Figured I'd shoot this video first. We can all get hip to, or we can reject his solution, and we can, keep stubbornly playing our own version of God. What we think he wants is just for you to be happy and not everyone else. But see, what he wants is the most people giving him glory, which I hope you're writing about today. But anyway, so you've inspired me to write this, so I follow this Unsealed website. A once in a 10,000 year constellation forms on the exact day that I decide to I commit to make a movie that, takes a swing to prove the existence of God for a Jewish chick, which then satisfies the Jewish faith of keeping Torah and Purim. These are other check boxes. Purim is important because the only reason I made the movie is for a Jewish chick, and Torah is because my movie is me following my white horse around the world, similar to how Moses followed his cloud for 40 years in the fucking desert. Doesn't matter what it is, white horse, cloud, it's whatever works, whatever can get some human being to go down a path, which everyone will understand, hopefully, once I finish writing my book. But anyway, so I follow that Unsealed website, and then I also follow, this guy out in, he's a Jew. He's out in the Galilee. And he's like, man, wars and rumors of wars, nation against nation. He's like, we got Kashmir and in India as an issue. We have Israel joining forces with the UK and the US to sort of protect the Strait of Hormuz. He's like, we got shootings, we have Epstein's death, we have all, the guy's just like calling it out every day. I'm like, yeah. Anyway, so like that, and then what other sites? And then these Christian dudes down in Southern California, Soldiers for Christ. They're like, the pastor's, he's great. He's like Pastor Sandy or whatever. He's got his own version of how things should work. Basically, everyone has their own version of how things can work. But I don't know what Sandy has done to adjust to show that maybe he needs to, maybe he may not be right. How do I say this? God checked off all the boxes that Sandy needs, but it's about Sandy understanding how God did so for him. You need a white horse rider on the cloud, lion, September 23rd, 2017. The guy solves the tribulation issues, calls up the rapture. All that stuff he needs, God solved for him. The question is Sandy comfortable? Is Sandy capable of admitting that he's not God? That what he was, in his mind, what he was expecting as a solution to all those issues isn't right, because that would sacrifice Moshe out in the Galilee, or even Gary, on this sort of other website, or the guys up in Montreal. You say, he's going for all the marbles, the full solution. So everyone can adjust to go to the one, there's one God, to go to the divine solution, not my solution. I'm reporting it. I'm reporting as I adjust. All I've been doing is adjusting this entire time. Showing all the, make it work. Why? Because I fell in love with the Jewish chick, and I have to make it work. See, Sandy doesn't have to make it work yet. Gary doesn't have to make it work yet, although I think Gary's realizing it now, that maybe he has to adjust a little bit. And the boys up in Montreal, they don't have to make it work. For me, since 2017, actually since December 2nd of 2017, I had to make it work. Because if I don't prove the existence of God, then I don't get the girl of my dreams, you see. So all I've been doing is adjusting to become not one with God, not God, but close, like the Father and I are one kind of thing. That means I've bumped around enough to get so precise so it's there. See, they haven't done that. They got to do that, and I think that's what this guy Gary is realizing. Although I will say, Gary, he, you know, what's the word? He's thorough. Got to hand it to him. He's very thorough. So once this book is done, which all I've been working on for the past couple weeks has been the intro, which is to say, people have debated the existence of God for thousands of years. This book settles that debate and offers every reward and provides every reward for doing so. And then if you're atheist, you want data. If you're Pastor Sandy, you need white horse, cloud, trumpet, you want to see the face of God, like check, we got that. If you're, poor, or sorry, if you're ill, then you want to be healed. If and all of these things can be solved. If you're Jewish, you want the Ark of the Covenant, and you want, the Torah and the Book of Purim to be maintained, and everything else to be dropped from the Old Testament. Check. Like God, He's got a solution for everyone. Any reader has a solution, but you have these individuals who, not knocking them, they're doing what they've been coached, I guess, to do. They haven't been coached to do is to adjust, and I think that's what you turn up the pressure, you turn up the heat on religious folks, non-religious folks. You make the world slowly so bad that finally a solution that will ease all their suffering is introduced for the X time. Because I've already done this with Gary a year ago. It wasn't so bad a year ago, but now it's getting bad, which is why he's adjusting. But you offer the actual solution. Not that I'm God, I'm just reporting as the guy who's gotten way further. See, they've been stuck in their own little worlds, stubbornly. Well, God's the only one who's allowed to be stubborn. Me, I haven't been stubborn because I've been trying to get to understand and convey, I'm there in terms of the understanding. I mean, I'll always learn more, but we're there. I'm the most fluid individual in the equation because I had to make it work. So all the time that has been wasted, it's for naught. And now a guy like Gary is finally starting to adjust. He could solve this on his own, but how far behind is he? I emailed him October of 2018, and that's assuming that he was even as close. This guy, he could stop everything he's doing in life and spend all of his time working on solving the mystery of God, and he would eventually get it. But then he would have been written in the book of, he would have been prophesied long ago. But it wasn't him, because he didn't have to make it work yet. I come through, have to make it work, and as a response by God starts to trigger all this bad shit in the world. He can put anyone in any situation at any moment in time, which is what my book describes. He could have done that, but it was who is worthy, who is willing to admit they're not right, and they have to make it work. And the only reason I make it sound like, oh, I'm like the guy. Yeah, I'm the guy, but it only happened because of a woman. Because I had to make it work, because without proving God's existence, I would never get laid again. As stupid as it sounds, I would never get any trim. Because after I was with this woman, I mean, I'd been with her before, but after all the time and energy and stuff, therapy and all this stuff that I put into myself, and then reconnected with her at a shaky time in my life, that was when I was like, nope, I need that girl back. Once I realized I want that girl, then it was done. And God knew that. He's like, look, just send that girl in, get her to bump paths with this guy when they're in their early 20s. And then when she gets yank her from him via circumstance in their early 20s, never have it work out because of circumstance in their mid 20s or whatever, the couple times that they saw each other. And then when they reconnect, when he's in his 30s, when he has money to burn, autonomy because he's his own business owner, he's already been working on himself to get himself a heads up, find out she's an atheist, put all this crazy stuff in his path, and within 4 or 5 months, he's going to be like, wait, this must be God. And she's an atheist, so I can use this as an opportunity to prove God's existence, and it doesn't matter what I do. It doesn't matter. Nothing matters at all except proving God's existence, because I have to do so for this chick, because she's an atheist. So I've been working on this since 2017, 2019. See that? And I had nothing but free time. I sacrificed everything. And that's the important part, is if you take every human being to walk this earth and you stack up what they've sacrificed on behalf of that God he's jealous and he's stubborn. He wants to have it his way. And it's who lost or who sacrificed the most. Then you start to see the system, how it actually works, which is it's a ranking system. And as it stands now, the number one human, Sandy, Gary, you guys are going to be pissed, but we'll just say this. The number one, human or whatever to sacrifice the most is Jesus Christ. There's no disputing that. The guy fucking got executed and whatever because of his belief in God. You can't top that. You can match it, but you can't top it. Because he was aligned with God, in terms of like becoming like one with the Father. Even I think the book of Matthew and whatever other gospels say, in time he grew in God's favor or whatever at the very sort of beginning or early in the gospel. And he worked his way up to understanding what God wanted. And what God wanted at that time is the same thing as what he wants now, except Jesus put an extra spin on it, which is what God wanted was to deliver for all the prophecies of the prophets who had died or, who had sacrificed leading up to the coming of Jesus. And then he winds up dying and, fulfilling a bunch of prophecy and all that stuff. And now, 2,000 years later, it's about delivering on Jesus' prophecy and whatever other prophets are around based off a ranking system, which means whoever lost the most, sacrificed the most, they get first say, as long as it doesn't conflict with any prophet from the past. So with Jesus' book of Revelation, it's his message to the world to say, look, this is how it's going to go down. So if you can sync with the book of Revelation, which syncs with all the prophets from the past, if you can sync with that, deliver on that, you're satisfying what God wants, because he's delivering based off sacrifice other people have made, Jesus, Isaiah, Zechariah, all that stuff. And then if you're simpatico with all of those prophecies, then you can fulfill them and then continue them as the baton sort of passes forward. You receive the baton from Jesus and you're like, okay, you need all that? I'll take care of all that. And then whatever I can add in addition to it, just like Jesus added in addition to the Old Testament prophets, you can add more. And then someone else will come and then they can fulfill everything that I say that is at peace with what they all say, and then he or she can add more from there. It's like the scepter. And the scepter shall not depart from Judah until Shiloh comes. You see. But you had to understand that. You see. So you give God what he wants, which is the ultimate peace deal. He starts to manipulate things around in the world, by giving headaches to other people so they can kind of eventually look at his anointed message. It all works together. But you had to take the time out to do so, and you had to be flexible. You had got to deliver first on what God wants, and what God wants is what the people who have sacrificed the most in his name, while still adhering to other people who sacrificed before them. See, I couldn't come around and be like, well, fuck all them, like this is how it works. No, God's like, I don't think so. You come in this as on the shoulder, as Jews say, on the shoulders of giants. And those boys from the past, they're giants. Jesus, Isaiah, Zechariah, Jeremiah, all of them. So you sync with them, Daniel. You sync with them, Moses. You know, I mean, the list goes on. You sync with them. You explain it. You write down your prophecy, and then the next person who comes along has to sync with all that shit. But see, for what I'm gonna do, my thing is I'm gonna open it up to everyone. There isn't one person who comes along. It's fucking billions of people. And that's the key. That's why the scepter doesn't depart from Judah until Shiloh comes, until the fucking lion shows up. The lion is the guy who stubborn as fuck. See you guys.